Very fine people. I want to bring in our guests to get into this tonight because it's important. Marc Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, and the Root.com's Jason Johnson. Mr. Morial.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see both of you. It's 2018, and because of the actions of a current member of Congress, the Congress felt the need to say white supremacy is bad. But that is where we are at. What does it tell you that the standard appears to be different within the Republican Party depending on how much power you have?
Well, first of all, Congressman King should not be condemned. He should be censured. And if he had any good common sense, he'd resign from the Congress. He has to go. And if Congress had the power, which I'm not certain they do, to remove him, I would say he should be removed. Congress, and I think the Republican leadership, has to go farther than what they have gone. White supremacy and white nationalism and the normalization of it over the last 2 years has to be condemned vociferously, consistently, and completely. And I'd like to see them go farther, and I think they should go farther than they've gone.
I want to play something we put together, and on this show we don't just broadcast all Trump tweets. We don't broadcast all offense. We've done this to make a deliberate point here for your analysis, which is Trump and King. Let's take a look.
These aren't people. These are animals.
They've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert.
I have had horrible rulings. I've been treated very unfairly by this judge. Now, this judge is of Mexican heritage.
Where did any other subgroup of people contribute more to civilization?
Than white people?
Than Western civilization itself.
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists.
You cannot rebuild your civilization with somebody else's babies.
They call her Pocahontas.
We could also electrify this wire. We do that with livestock all the time.
If the Republicans' issue is condemning racism, don't you have to condemn it all?
You should, but they're not going to because they don't really care. And Ari, this is my concern about what's just happened. I said last week, I don't think he should be necessarily removed. This is how democracy works. If the people in his community think he represents their beliefs, fine. I don't think he should be in a position of power. But the problem with condemning him for racism or white supremacy or white nationalism, most of those Republicans can't even define those terms. Okay, don't condemn somebody for something else. I promise you, if you roll them out and said, what is a white nationalist and why is it a problem? They are responding to bad branding. They're not responding to bad policy. And that's why I'm not impressed by this particular action. White nationalism is the idea that this country is a white homeland and anybody who's not a white Christian shouldn't have a key role in government, economy, or popular culture. That is the antithesis of America, and it leads to terrorism. It's a national security issue. So when they're able to say that and be specific, then I'll believe that this sort of hue and cry actually matters.
Well, let me say this. I think we also need to understand that white nationalism is, as de Gaulle put it, it is the hate of others as your defining and animating principle, whereas patriotism is love of your country, love of your people, love of yourselves. And I think this is an important debate in 21st century America because it's really a debate as to whether the future is going to be a return to the past or whether the future is going to be a leap into the present and the future. This country is a multicultural democracy. Multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic. That's the kind of democracy this is. That's what it's evolving to. And I will, and we will, fight for that kind of nation. We will fight and we will battle against those that want to turn the hands of time backwards. That's what this is. It's a fight. It's a battle. It's a fight that's principled. It's a fight that's moral. It's a fight that has a political dimension. But it is in its essence about who we want to be as an American nation in the 21st century. That's what it is.
The President of the United States is also a white nationalist. He's made it clear that he's a white nationalist. And you can make arguments about him being a racist. I don't think those things, being a racist is not a disqualifier of being president, but being a white nationalist makes you a danger to our national security. The Republican Party will not condemn President Trump because they want to be associated with his power. Because many Republicans, and even some Democrats, are in favor of his white nationalist policies. They just don't like how he says his white nationalist policies. And that's the problem that we have in this country. It's not just an issue of demographic change. It's also an issue of actual violence. when we have police departments that have been infested with white nationalists, when we have military places that have been infested with white nationalists, why are we seeing swastikas painted in parts of Baghdad? That wasn't from them locally. That's because you have white nationalists joining our military and engaging that kind of behavior abroad. This is something that we have to tackle, and just censuring someone is not enough.
I really appreciate you both coming in for this. There was so much going on in this town tonight, but we did not want to neglect this story and two important voices.
And I'll be before the Senate Judiciary Committee tomorrow on the Barr nomination. So
you know, they call that a pivot in the news, although I suspect you'll be discussing some overlapping issues, including civil rights. I know
civil rights enforcement, criminal justice.
And I know Senator Booker was questioning some of that today, so we'll be watching your testimony.
Thank you.
Thanks to both of you for